You're listening to the Friday Week, where we're going to be talking about all the fun news that you don't necessarily notice. Let's get stuck straight in. Hello and welcome to the Friday Week, where we talk about the fun news and where we watch the news so that you don't have to. That's what I was going to go for. And joining me in the studio, I always have some excellent comedian guests, and this week is no exception. So, introducing first up in the studio, we've got Sallyann Fellows. Hello, Sallyann.
Hello, Richard. Hello, everybody.
How are you doing this week?
I'm good, thank you. It's
Excellent.
pretty cold, but I'm all right.
Yeah, it's getting a bit chilly, isn't it?
Yeah.
And next to her, we have, as always, our ever-reliable Susan Kitcatt. Hello, Susan.
One of the few times I've been called ever reliable.
Yeah, I know.
It's lovely to be here. You might have said that with sarcasm.
Nothing if not consistently inconsistent.
Inconsistent, yeah. But you know what? You keep having people. Last week it was Steve and Susan. This week it's Sallyann and Suzanne. You're going for alliteration with your guests.
I've got a lot of S's, yes.
Yeah.
But let's keep away from any other S words that may be used to describe either of you. So how have your week been? It's been a bit cold, been a bit chilly.
Stupendous.
We've already decided.
So many S words you could use to describe me.
So many.
Super spectacular.
Shivering.
Supercalifragilistic. Can't even say that.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Oh,
even though the sound of it is really rather atrocious. Yes.
You can say it that because it's Eliaxpialidocious. But that's getting a bit too far, don't you think?
What?
Well, I prefer paracetamol-oxyfruzy-bendromycin, even though the sound of it is really rather frightening. It's a cure for everything, including being struck by lightning. Paracetamol-oxyfruzy-bendromycin.
Isn't there one that is it sort of like it can cure the common cold but not quite hepatitis or something?
Yes,
like that?
there are multiple lines. It cures everything, including pubic lice. Well, that is not a news
I remember
story.
that. Thanks,
We've both
Richard.
just got right. Okay.
What a relief. What a treat.
I honestly do not. If anyone ever offers you any drug called paracetamol-oxyfruzy-bendromycin, say no. Say no. Just say no. But are you guys ready to start talking about the news?
Yes.
In that case, let's get on with the show.
Hey.
Okay, so we're going to start with Sallyann. Sallyann, which mastermind foiled the great detective Sir Sherlock Gnomes? I don't know why I made him a knight. Why not? Sir Sherlock Gnomes. This one's the knight.
Sir Sherlock Gnomes. This is a great story about a 48-year-old missing gnome, or gnomes plural. And I think it was in Merseyside, Richard. Am I right?
Yes.
And these gnomes went missing with ransom notes accompanied. And the note said something like, "We've taken your gnome. This is not a hoax," which would suggest maybe it is a hoax. But the gnomes have been missing for 48 years, and the guys who nicked the gnomes, their cousin adopted them in on the Vernon Kay show.
I mean, this is extraordinary. Snitches get stitches. Am I right?
Am I right? And they got stitched up big style. And one of them had their whole body taken off. Not the children.
Yeah. I was going to say.
Yeah, there's not that sort of show. So now they've had to.
Yes, this was Fred, who the beloved garden gnome of one particular family, who his feet were concreted in place, and so when they stole him, they broke his feet off. So that sounds really mafioso, doesn't it?
I mean, people keep talking about. I've heard this a lot. His beloved family name. I don't know how beloved something is if you've concreted it to your back garden.
Yeah, that is true. And also, if you leave it outside all winter.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. And it's like, one of the note that Sallyann was just saying about.
You got it in front of you.
Well, I sort of have it. It's like it sort of says, "We've got your gnome." It's very sort of taken. But it's what I was going to say. What strikes me is it says, "Your gnome's only got 72 hours to live."
Yeah, so
and I'm like, I know, but my response would be, it wasn't alive before. What have you done?
Yes. What is it, like Frankenstein?
So just let's get some of the wording there. I've got some of the wording here. If you've got the full thing, that'd be great. But it starts with listen, which is a great start for a written note.
Yeah.
Listen, your gnome has 72 hours to live, unless you wrap 25 pence and leave it in some sort of car park near the bowling green.
I think, wasn't it?
But what I love is they want to wrap 25p. Now, I know that 25p back in those days was probably a lot more than it is now, particularly to children up in the north. You know, that it's going to be 25 pence is going to be a lot of money compared to what it is now, where it can barely buy you, I don't know, it can barely buy you a penny sweet in London. But to wrap 25p is quite a lot of effort. Like, are you going to get it a gift bag?
Yeah,
that would be much easier. Are you going to try and are you going to go with like the folded corners? Are you going to try and fold it so that there's like an 8-sided shape? Because you don't fold things round things.
No.
And you can't do a 7-sided fold for a parcel.
Bearing in mind though that the coins actually were considerably bigger.
Was it a 7-sided coin still?
It was still. What was it? Yeah, I think it was. I think the 20 pence was the same shape but bigger, and the 5p was also bigger. So it would have been easier maybe just to sort of put it in a, sort of like a. But also, I just say it's not the most
like in a tissue.
It's not the worst things people were getting up to in the 70s. Really, when you think with hindsight, it's like
we'll leave that topic alone.
People have done worse, but I think a kidnapper epic fail, should we say?
Well, no, it worked as kidnapping. It was.
It was a phenomenal effort.
It was about 40 years of kidnapping.
Basically, the thing is though, it then got.
They didn't get any money though.
Well, yes, that is true. But they then it also at the end of the note it said go away and await further instructions.
Yeah.
Which again, that's like a line out of Black Book.
If you're leaving someone a note, like what you've just given the instructions. What more instructions are you going to give them? And how are you going to give it to them without like having to go and stick another note onto their door, which they're going to spot you?
It's literally a line out of Black Books. Someone wants their change, and Bernard Black, instead of giving them the change, he says, "Right, what's your address?" Okay, go there and wait for my instructions.
Excellent. But this all came about because Vernon Kay was going back through the vault. Going through what he calls Vernon's Vault, where they were looking back at stories. This was actually a national news story covered by Nationwide, not the bank, the what's it called, the television show that the BBC had to cover the sort of nation, the regions as they call them, and so they.
Was it on Newsround? Was Newsround a thing?
Well, I don't think it was. I don't know if it was Newsround, but certainly
like the kids' news.
These kids were watching TV watching TV with their food and their family, and they saw this news story come up, and the little 5-year-old brother Colin turned to his older brother and went, "That was us." At which point the parents first of all shouted at them and then swore them to secrecy. Just like, okay, now it's gone too far. You can never tell anyone. Of course, they then many years later, Vernon Kay does this show on the radio, and one of their cousins is listening, and apparently almost fell off his chair. Said, contacted them and said, "Look, he's my cousin. He talks about this every single year on Boxing Day," which is very specific. Yeah. And so, this is something their cousin just dropped them in.
I just like the idea that he's there. Everyone's going, "They'll never find out it was me." And I just think like someone should have done like Taken. Someone should have done like I don't know who you are. Yeah. I don't know why you're fascinated with gnomes. They went out of style years ago. But what I have got is...
Well, part of it was apparently he was wondering why people had gnomes. And then he had this idea to just nick them, and him and his brother went and scouted them out, then nicked them.
Do you know what I wish people would do? You know, when you go past, and I partly say this because I had sort of somebody in my past, an ex he was this person. You know, when someone's gone too over the top with their house at Christmas and it looks awful, and it looks like Santa's.
The tacky display.
Over tacky. It looks like Santa has vomited. Space. Yeah, it looks like Santa's vomited all over this house. I wish people would nick all the Christmas decorations and be like, "We've got your Santa, your inflatable Santa. If you want him back, all the other Christmas decorations have to go down. You're allowed one thing and one thing only." I wish someone would do that to those houses.
Yeah.
And I say that partly bitterly to do with having an ex of mine, really.
That does sound pretty vindictive. But yeah.
Funny though.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the news.
If you know who he is, please do it to him. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Susan, you know who he is. So, I mean, you go do it.
Oh, God. Now if someone does it, I'm going to, oh, my God, it's like I've really set myself up here.
Yeah, you really have.
Oh, no. I'll come with you.
Okay, yeah, it could be either of us. You won't know. You know what we look like? This is the radio show. Okay.
This is the news that Arthur and Colin have finally been caught, not exactly red-handed, stealing gnomes in 1976 after an investigation well, it's kind of call it an investigation, found someone dobbed them in. Their cousin dobbed in Arthur, who then admitted it live on Radio 2 to Vernon Kay. And after threatening notes and 48 years of keeping this secret, only ever telling it every year on Boxing Day, he's finally been brought to justice and had to apologise to all the families who, at the time, lost their gnomes.
So a bit of an Arthur Norman Doyle situation.
That's very good.
There's two gnome puns in the same genre there. That's quite
I'm
interesting.
on it like a car bonnet today.
Yeah.
That's very good. Very good.
Let's move on. Susan, we're going to stick with the subjects of gnomes. Which little scoundrel appears to have swallowed the evidence?
Well, yeah, this is an interesting one following the last one. I don't know. I mean, maybe something in the stars. I don't know. A little gnome, which I think the way it's been worded, this is a Dutch gnome was found with. It was actually made of MDMA, or it was stashed. The MDMA was stashed inside this gnome.
It's now known as a garden party drug.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. God, and it's like, I mean, because I'm thinking like MDMA is like miniature dude man arrested.
Oh, yeah.
You know, is that what?
Yeah.
But also, it's like, again, this thing of the way this story has been, the way the Dutch police have sort of, and I'm tempted to attempt a Dutch accent, but I'm not sure I stood. It's like, we find things of all shapes and sizes, but sometimes we find something special. And it's like, what's special? Okay, I mean, yeah, you must have had quite a Christmas party, you Dutch
It's quite
policemen.
special, isn't it?
I mean, also, you've got, Dutch, like, you've got Amsterdam, it's all quite open, and so it's like, I don't know what.
Well, MDMA is still illegal in the Netherlands.
But it's like, so it's like, but the other thing was they said that the gnome looked visibly startled. And it's like, again, this humanisation of gnomes.
So it had its hands clamped over its mouth, which is why I think it makes it sound like it's just seen the police walk coming in and just gone, oh, quick, swallow the evidence, and then it swallowed so much MDMA that it actually just had MDMA fully percolating, permeating throughout its body.
Yeah.
Also, when I first read this article, I actually misread it a bit, and when it said MDMA, I thought it said DNA, and I'd like the idea that MDMA might just be gnomish DNA.
Oh, that would be brilliant. Maybe that's what it means. Oh, but it's like this thing of who tipped them off? How do you go around and be like, it's that gnome over there, that's the one? How would you know? Was it acting suspiciously?
Well, so they basically they were doing a drugs raid, and they found this gnome, which and they said in itself a strange place to keep your garden gnome, because clearly it was indoors. And so they tested it, and they said yes, it had MDMA all the way through it. 2 kilograms of MDMA went to make this garden gnome.
Were the people who had this gnome, were they like away on holiday? Like, when you leave your keys so the burglars won't find it?
Yeah, on day.
Were they just like, let's hide the drugs somewhere weird so nobody will find it whilst we're away? Or were the police just like, because actually I've got to say some of the stories we got this week are quite trippy, and I'm just imagining these policemen just like, we found the MDMA, we found it in the gnome, the gnome was like, the gnome was in the living room, which is just weird, okay, and then it was like full of drugs, okay, we were like, it was that's what happened.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, it is strange. There have been other cases of MDMA being smuggled, hidden in other forms. For example, a few years ago, a Scottish person smuggled, I think, several £1,000s worth of MDMA into the country in cat food tins. I really want to see that mistake, where a cat is just
meow 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 meow. No, I mean meow meow. No, I mean meow meow meow.
Suddenly, it's having ideas for podcasts, for apps that it's going to design. Like, that cat is just on it. It's like, okay, I think I know how to solve dogs. I think I've got a solution for all dogs. This is going to be fantastic. All right. So yeah, that's quite a fun one. I remember a while ago there was a story which I quite enjoyed. Someone with a wheelchair went to America, and it turned out the wheelchair was stuffed with about £1.5 million worth of cocaine.
Wow.
And the guy said, "It's not my wheelchair. I just borrowed it." And I don't know which.
It's like that's completely. Yeah. It's like people,
who would lend you a wheelchair with £1.5 million worth of stuff in it?
Well, and actually, weird enough, you sat on a slightly serious note. If people have this idea of this sort of, well, be careful if you go on a holiday, and someone gives you something to bring back and says, "Oh, this is a present for my mum. Don't take it." And I think I've even given this advice before. And the thing I know, having done some of the work that I've done, is nobody nobody will ever pass on an expensive amount of drugs to someone they don't know. That's just something that's never going to happen. I'm not saying don't be careful being given...
That's a serious amount of knowledge of the system that Susan has there, which seems suspicious to me.
Do we need to look in your bag, Susan?
Yeah.
I don't have a bag with me.
Susan gives, every year, Susan gives, instead of just give me one present, Susan gives me a whole bag full of small presents. And I've just happily eaten them. Little bit chocolate bars, cans
and
of beer.
I've got the video of what happens to him after he's eaten them.
Turns out she's been sneaking, she's been sneaking cocaine and heroin and various drugs into me.
Okay, well, just to clear my name slightly.
This is absolutely not true.
Okay, the reason, just to clear my name slightly, the reason I know this is because I worked in mental health, which could also sometimes include substance misuse and stuff like that. And I sat in on a lot of talks about how, and it's always this story of, so people who get arrested might give you the story of, I got given it at, someone, I was on holiday and someone with someone, handed it to me and said, just give this to my mate. It's like, that's not true. That has never happened. It never would. You wouldn't just be given. But it's, I'm not saying still don't be careful when you go on holiday, but that's not a realistic concern that people really have. It doesn't really happen.
I don't think anyone would ever trust me with anything.
No, that's the thing.
Find my way out the toilet. So.
Oh my goodness, Susan would leave it behind. Susan would have put it down somewhere and be like, oh God, where did I put that £500,000 worth of drugs? Until someone mentions it on Facebook saying, is this your £500,000 worth of drugs? It's like, oh yeah, that's it.
The worrying thing is he's actually referring to something that's genuinely happened in my life.
These are specific references for a reason.
I'm also the sort of person that would phone the police and go, I need to report something that I lost today. Yeah, it's half, it's a gnome full
of MDMA.
Oh, and then I'd remember that, it's,
Yeah, ecstasy in the gnome. I also have a couple of questions about how they make this. Like, is MDMA, like, is it elastic? Is it like clay, so you can model it into the shape of a gnome, or do they
be more like powder?
More like powder, so they have to pour it into a mold.
Do you know also the thing?
In which case, do they have to sort of paint the outside to get like the red hat and black boots and stuff and pink cheeks, or do they have different coloured MDMA which they pour in at different layers to try and layer it up and make it look perfect?
Well, I'd like to see what what these gnomes look like, because MDMA. The one thing I can tell you is it makes people's eyes dilate, like they look like they've been like they're aliens. Like I feel like I'm looking at an alien anytime. So I just want to know what the gnomes look like on it.
Yes, well, that one...
one looked obviously startled, so,
Yeah.
Maybe that's what they meant. Maybe big, wide eyes. Where it's like going...
and its hands over its mouth. Yeah.
Yeah, that's startled.
Yeah.
What were you saying? Sallyann?
No, I was just saying the picture of that gnome, he just looked really grey and boring. So I was quite...
that's suspicious in itself.
No, it's always the suits you've got to watch out for, guys.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, that's just, like, why would a garden gnome just be plain grey? The bank manager gnome.
Yeah.
To be fair, it is the bank managers who do quite a lot of the drugs.
That's what I'm saying, the suits are the one.
Yeah.
Well, they can afford them, can't they? Let's be honest.
Precisely.
Afford their own suits, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what's the weirdest thing you've ever made a model out of? I just, it seems like a bizarre thing to do. This is the news that Dutch police have found a 2-kilogram gnome made entirely out of MDMA, also known as ecstasy, the garden party drug, as I'm now calling it. Well, party drug, which is now in a garden with a gnome. Presumably, that gnome will now forever sit on the side. Also, hang on, can I just another question I need to ask? How do you consume a gnome worth of 2 kilograms of MDMA in one gnome? Do you have to just like take bites of it? Is it
maybe it's a bit like hacking open? You've got like an Easter bunny or something, just sort of like
like a pinata.
Yeah, a druggy pinata.
Yeah, I'm sort of thinking like you're saying with the sort of Lindor bunnies, where you have to break off the ears and eat the ears first.
No, I just said chocolate Easter bunny. I didn't go and brand,
Yeah, it's fine. The chocolate bunnies, which are hollow inside and made out of Lindt chocolate.
But then you probably have to get everyone at the party to go on their hands and knees and sort of eat like sheep just to get all the drugs.
I think if you've got that going around, I don't think that's really the issue that anyone's really got. But
yeah, could make Twister quite fun. But yes, this is the news that a 2-kilogram gnome made out of ecstasy has been found in the Netherlands. The poor crooks who were holding it now lost their favourite garden gnome. let's go back to Sallyann.
Hello.
Sallyann, which superheroes have popped up in Peru?
Well, I understand this to be Deadpool and the more ugly one of the superheroes, whose name I can't remember. And they dressed up for a drugs raid. Is that right, Richard?
Yes.
And every year there's
It does
a
happen a
dress-up
lot.
drug raid thing, which we don't do here, and I think maybe
No,
we
it's
should.
definitely a Peru thing. It's Wolverine. Wolverine.
That's
I'm startled to hear someone describe Hugh Jackman as the ugly one.
yeah. Well, he doesn't do it
Who
for me.
dead? Oh, he did. Well, actually, he's not my Michael Sheen, obviously.
No, obviously not.
But he's on my sort of to-do list somewhere.
To-do list.
Some people have like my list of 5 that I'm allowed to with my partner. You know, if they ever came calling.
he'd be on there
You have the
somewhere,
to-do
yeah.
list.
Well, if I must,
Yeah.
Yeah. Just got to get the chores done today. I've got
Go and
to. Hang on,
tidy the bathroom.
what chores have I got to do? I've got to hoover. I've got to
File
cook
my
food.
teeth.
I need to do my teeth, and I need to do. Oh, wait, Hugh Jackman. Yes. To be fair,
Jackman.
knowing how little of Susan's to-do list she gets through, I'm not surprised that she hasn't got through to Hugh Jackman yet either. Yeah, but
I found out that a wolverine is an actual animal.
Yes.
I know that's random, but
yeah,
did you know that?
I think it's the same as a honey badger.
Yes, and they've got massive teeth, bit bigger than a honey badger. But I didn't realise there was something that used to live here in the UK.
Oh, I didn't know they lived in the UK. Yeah, but they're very aggressive.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know if I knew that a Wolverine was. It's like I remember.
It's not that he's a man who's a wolf. He's a man who's a wolverine, which is a more aggressive, smaller animal. They're the kind of animal who will take on lions, despite the fact that a lion could easily kill them. But the trouble is, the honey badger will get hold of the lion by certain parts of its anatomy, at which point the lion will just surrender.
So we're saying Hugh Jackman's a bit of a terrier. Really.
Yes, yeah, they're sort of the crazy terrier kind of creature.
It's a bit like if I could get any pet. I quite like ragdoll cats, and they're
That's
beautiful.
what I've got.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh,
They
we have
don't
to have a
sound
whole-
beautiful. They sound
Oh
ugly.
no, they're so beautiful.
Ragdoll.
But you have to apparently, if I'm right about this, you're meant to keep them indoors because
Yeah.
they're cats because they're just so trusting and friendly. They'll be friends, try and make friends with anything. So be like, oh, a moving car will be my friend.
Yeah.
Oh, a big scary dog will be my friend. And they'll basically chase after things that just are terrifying that we kill. Oh, no, they're the me of cats.
That does sound a little bit like
the me of cats.
that does sound a little bit like the
I think
whale
me
from
and Sallyann
Hitchhiker's Guide
have,
to the Galaxy.
We're like we're two peas in a pod. We're similar. We've got like a.
We are. We are sisters.
But yeah, have I assume neither of you have seen Wolverine and Deadpool the movie?
No, I
nor
haven't
have I. It's one I want to watch at some point, but I haven't got round to it
See,
yet.
I'm more like. I mean, Hugh Jackman is like The Greatest Showman. Oh my god.
No, I haven't
that.
seen that.
Oh, that's
He's
very
supposed to be
good.
very hot in that.
And
Is
I
that right.
Well, I think he's quite hot in that, and I think I think in other things, later. I probably know the more musical like Les Miserables and.
I like Les Miserables. I saw that in London recently.
Yeah, as you mentioned, they have the Lima police force have a bit of history with this. In 2022, I found 4 men burst into a drug house, or I don't know, drug dealer's place.
Yeah.
But they approached sort of casually dressed as 4 of the Avengers, namely Spider-Man, Thor, Captain America, and Black Widow. I just want to point out this is 4 men. So one one policeman, his job was to dress as Black Widow, which to dress as Scarlett Johansson, which is quite an impressive feat for.
And she's a very girly girl. So
Yeah,
that's,
she is. Yeah.
That's fairly impressive. And then they burst into the house and arrested a lot of drug dealers and confiscated a lot of drug goods. That's 2022. Also 2022, Santa and his elves burst into a house and arrested everyone inside, and they seen marching them through the streets, again taking quite a lot of drugs. And 2020, Santa and just one elf this time burst into a house and did the same thing. So this is all Lima. The Lima police force like doing this. They really have quite an impressive fancy dress box.
Yeah, that's. I mean, maybe they've just arrested a lot of people who have been, doing some fancy dress, stuff. But I was going to say, unless as Black Widow, unless he was like a Black Widow spider, that would have been maybe another way of being like, look, it's a representation.
Yeah.
Okay, it's like.
No, I think the whole point is that what they're doing is they're dressing.
No, I get it. But just
the whole point
a way
is
around that would be.
Yeah, what they're trying to do, they're trying to be as they're trying to blend in with the public who are all wandering around in fancy dress. And so you just look out the window and you see a bunch of people dressed up in sort of fun character costumes. And you're like, oh, okay. And you get back to, whatever doing your drugs involves.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you hear a knock at the door, then the door flies in, and suddenly you've got Wolverine and Captain and Deadpool bursting in, slamming you to the ground and stealing your drugs, and you go from one thing to another.
You probably still think you're in the middle of some sort of drugs.
Yeah, exactly. You're very
Wolverine,
disorientated.
cool, man. Yeah. I don't know what you have to.
And is this Halloween when they do this?
Yes, it's Halloween when they do it, and then they do it again at Christmas with the Father Christmas and elves.
Ah, cool.
I found in a very short period of time, with a very limited search, I managed to find, as I say, 4 different incidents, 2 from 2022, 1 from 2020, and 1 from 2024. I'm sure there are more that I haven't been able to find, but yeah, I
love this story.
Quite a lot.
And also, where do they put their handcuffs? Because those costumes are pretty skin tight, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what I think?
Captain America obviously gets to carry a big shield. I'm sure you could have something tucked up behind that.
Do you know what
sandwiches or something?
Do you know what I think would be a good one for this time of year? So you could go as the ghost of Jacob Marley, and you'd have loads and loads of chains to throw around people and drag them off.
Yeah, that could be quite good.
That's a great
If you go as Indiana Jones, then you've got a whip that you can sort of lash round them and then tie it up, and they're just lassoed.
A massive boulder as well that you could sort of slip
I think
them.
I don't think that's usually part of the costume. That's fairly in depth. How have you guys ever done any? What's your best dress up for Halloween or anything?
Well, I think my best dress up was when I dressed as a nun in Dublin, but I went to the wrong house and the picture
That's Susan.
And you ended up having to give someone the last rites.
You are so me and you are just like. Do you think we could have been like sisters and just one of us maybe like
we just got swapped or something, or forgotten and delivered to the wrong family?
Yeah, I think me and Sallyann are like we're closer relations than we are.
I had to go and talk to this woman who lived upstairs in a bed and just pretend to be a nun, and I realised that the bottom bit of the costume was slightly see-through.
Oh wow, yeah.
So like a genuine nun. Yeah. God, that's quite a good one. That is so the sort of thing I would do.
What did you do, Susan? What's yours?
My best, I don't know if weirdly enough, you'd think I'd be someone that would do it. I think my best dress up, it's not so much dress up, it's more that I have different, I like to say I'm genre fluid, which basically just means I've got some styles that are quite mainstream, which is maybe how I would say, some that are a bit hippie-ish, a bit more sort of steampunk, a bit more alternate and gothy. So I think that's more my dressing up. It's more being different.
I don't generally do Halloween things because it's my birthday and I try to celebrate that instead.
Oh yes.
But I have this year. I went to a Halloween event which some of my friends were putting on, and I went as Moist von Litvig, a character from.
Sounds dodgy.
Yeah, it's quite one hell of a name, isn't it? He's a character from, and he's quite dodgy actually. Going Postal and Making Money, the Discworld novels, towards the end of Discworld, and he dresses all in gold with a winged hat, also in gold.
Oh, I love that.
So it's quite fun, except that someone who didn't know who I was dressing as guessed that I was dressed as the Golden Snitch, which I think it could also have worked, to be fair, with the winged hat. Also, my favourite costume I ever did was when I was at university, and the theme for the end-of-year college party was Neverland. And as one person pointed out, Neverland is where Michael Jackson lived, Neverland is where Peter Pan lived. But anyway, everyone was going in Peter Pan. I had already gone in a mankini to the beach party theme the year before, so I'd got that ticked off my list. Someone else called dibs on going as Tinkerbell. So
when he says beach party, he means his graduation.
Yeah, there was.
Okay.
Well, no, it was the end of year party from the year before. There were a whole ton of male Tinkerbells wandering around in tutus. I was the only person to turn up dressed as the Wendy House.
Oh, that's very
huge cardboard box with arms coming out the sides through the windows or out the front through the door in the window.
It could have been also been Alice in Wonderland.
Well, it could have been. I also had a little space in the side, like a little sort of fenced-off area inside the box, which a pint would sit neatly in, which is quite useful. I had a little pint holder. I did dance with one other person who was dressed in a box. She was dressed as Big Ben. Although, to be fair, her box was smaller than mine. It just had a clock face on.
Do you know what, though? And also, I'm gonna say, little factoid. She couldn't have been dressed as Big Ben because you can't actually see Big Ben. You can only hear him.
She was dressed as the clock tower.
The Elizabeth clock tower is what.
The Elizabeth clock tower, but it wasn't the Elizabeth clock tower back then, when the book was written. And I think the instruction is something like turning right at Big Ben and then third star on the left.
Third star on the left, straight on till morning.
There's definitely a bit where they do fly past. They do talk about flying past Big Ben, and that's where.
But I think it still was Elizabeth.
Probably.
Tower.
I don't think it wasn't the Elizabeth Tower. It was just Big Ben was the name of the bell. That is true.
Yeah, that bit's true. And I don't know why it would have changed its name. I think it still is. Anyway, we might.
They had to change them. They did change them.
But talking about costumes, actually, the one that I always forget. But one year, me and a group of my girlmates went to our local sort of. It was an alternate night anyway, but it was sort of dressed as like the Spice Girls, but gothic versions of the Spice Girls. And the Spice Girls hadn't even been in vogue for a good few years, but we did it. And I've always wanted to do with someone, the two girls in The Shining.
Oh yeah,
I would love to dress it, but you need another girl. Maybe me and you next.
Yeah, we can
I say how maybe
yeah.
that is someone's birthday, but we can do it for some event. We can go sort of like
definitely.
get hair, maybe wigs, like hair in the pigtails and things like that.
Wig, isn't it?
Yeah, and no, blonde. I think they're both blonde, aren't they? Or are they?
Oh, I thought they had dark.
No, I think you
blue
might be
dresses,
right.
don't
They definitely have blue dresses.
Yeah.
And they look very sort of doll-like, don't they?
Very
so you'd
still,
want,
kind
doll-like.
of.
Is it? I think they've got like light brown hair, but I don't think it's black hair, but I don't think it's blonde either.
I
I
have to
think it's
Velcro my arms together because I wave my arms about too much. You know what I'm like.
Well, I'll be holding your hand just really solid, and we just walk around the court just terrified her.
What costume is this? Sorry.
No, so with a costume idea
from The Shining.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Okay. Yes.
I said I've always wanted. I need another girlmate to do it with me.
Yeah.
Sallyann could be. Yeah.
Well, I was also just thinking about earlier this week. Susan and I were chatting to another friend who is a massive Wicked fan and was saying that on no accounts do you ever sing, even when you're watching in the cinema, unless it is a specific sing-along thing. And then we ended up getting onto the subject of what's the one called? It's the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Oh, I love that.
Which is also one hell of a thing to dress up as.
Yeah.
Sort of dressing up as that, that's a good look. And then if you go along, you as a group, you all dress up together and go along to this sing along, and then everyone's dressed up, and it becomes it's a cult classic thing to do back in when my mum was growing up. She would go on dates to sort of to Rocky Horror Picture Show, all of them dressed up and sort of lip syncing the whole way through the whole thing. It's a proper sort of event.
I think that's what I mean. There's the cinema, just not to plug. Well, I suppose I could mention it. There's the Prince of Wales, and it's still the Prince of Wales, even though someone got a promotion. Prince Charles got promoted.
Yeah, the Prince of Wales. I just want to point out. Okay, I just want to point out here. There is still the Prince of Wales is still alive. He's just a different person now.
Yeah, he's just
There's still a Prince of Wales.
But it was But anyways, it off Leicester Square, and they do a lot of sing along, and they show old, and I love it actually.
Yeah.
And I'd like, I've gone to one of their sing-alongs. It was sing along Christmas Carol, Muppets Christmas Carol. Loved it.
Oh,
but I'd like to do, there's other ones I'd like to do there, and
that could be quite fun.
And I was going to say, as you sort of mentioned, Wicked, and there being no rest for the Wicked news. The Dorothy slippers, the red ruby slippers, went on sale in auction.
Oh yes.
And I was going to say, with obviously the stories that we've been talking about, they've gone on for I think 2 million, because they got stolen from a Julie Garland museum. And now they've been retrieved, and now they've gone
20 years later they're being sold.
Yeah,
This is 20 years after they were stolen. I think it took 13 years just to find them once they've been stolen.
And I like to think that maybe the ransom money, that 25p from the 70s, has gone up. That same person's going to buy those shoes, and he's going to stand there going,
"Give the gnomes back."
There's no place like Gnome.
Hey, there we go.
Yeah, that's great. Well done.
I've got to say, they look so much duller. Like the shoes, like in the film, I suppose it's like the magic of lighting and cinematography, but they look sparkly. They look very much duller, and I suppose also it's a lot of time has passed since.
Well, okay, I may take you into a little bit of background on the industry. No. This is of the industry itself. So another piece of news that we're not going to be talking about this week is obviously the final of Great British Bake Off, which happened and was very exciting. I watched it. I don't know if either of you did, but it was certainly great fun, and I'm very excited about that. Anyway, we're going to move on because we don't want to give any spoilers in case anyone hasn't watched the final yet, in which case, why not? What are you doing? But a family friend has actually worked behind the scenes on the sort of production side of Great British Bake Off, and apparently they actually have to use post-production techniques to enhance the blue of Paul. What's his surname? Paul Hollywood's eyes. Paul Hollywood's eyes.
Oh, it's interesting.
Those piercing blue eyes, they are enhanced.
I know. Weird enough, I thought you were going to say something about the cakes then, because actually I don't know so much I know, as I was saying about these ruby slippers, I know it's all the magic of cinematography, but I suppose that's the one that, to me, I watched Wizard of Oz as a child, and just seeing them now, it's like, oh, it's not quite. But weird enough, you mentioned that. I remember, so my dad was a photographer, and there's all sorts of things you can do with cinematography and photography. I remember him saying that one of his projects at one point was chocolate ice cream, which you can't photograph it under studio lights because it just melts. So they used mashed potato with chocolate sauce.
Oh no!
And that's just one of those, like, so when you look at, and quite often you look at things in a photograph, you think, oh, it's like when they pour milk over cereal in adverts, they're actually pouring glue, so the milk looks so much creamier and thicker.
Seriously?
Yeah, honestly.
It's actual glue.
It's because my dad didn't do that, but this friend of his went into doing all that sort of media photography, and it's like weird how
yummy.
But yeah, so. And that's the thing, sometimes in old adverts, we're talking about like back in like the 80s and stuff, people would be eating like chocolate, be like, no, it's delicious, and go, I've just been eating, like, obviously it's not what you know.
It's a lump of wood.
Yeah. But yes, this is the news story that two superheroes have popped up in Lima, as they often do, it seems, whether it's Marvel superheroes or Father Christmas and his elves. They have done another drugs bust. This time it was Wolverine and Deadpool appearing to arrest the bad people, which, to be fair, I don't think is exactly in Deadpool's wheelhouse, but anyway, we'll leave that one alone for now. We'll move on. Sallyann.
Hello.
Oh, no, actually, no, this is Susan, actually. This is actually Susan, sorry. It's Susan's turn. Susan, who would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for that speedy vegan?
Ah, yeah. Well, I do love this story. So it's I didn't actually realise he was a Sir, but it's Sir Mo Farah. Farah? I think it's Farah is how you pronounce it. Yeah. So he was literally Speedy gone Farah. And he's I'm so proud of him because he lives in a gated development. I live in a gated development. I'm sure he doesn't live where I live, and he left his phone like sort of somewhere within it, and then realised that this white van had pulled up or something, and then he's chased this van. He's realised this van's got my phone, and what a legend. He's managed to chase after a white van to retrieve his phone. And I just think that's some superhero. That's like,
Yeah, what I love is that I think basically he confronted the people who in their van when they pulled up somewhere, and he got to their window and sort of confronted them, and they just went, here, take it back, go. Yeah, they just had enough. They couldn't deal with being chased by Mo Farah.
Do you know what, actually? It's partly maybe you'd be like, you're proud to be dented because someone has actually ran faster than your van.
I don't know where this is. If it's in London, then that's not hard.
Yeah, because you're just stuck in so much traffic. But then also just, I personally, I think, and I don't know if Sallyann agree with me, but I think Mo Farah, he's quite a cute guy, and comes across as so mild-mannered and charming. So I think also that you might just give your phone back for that. Maybe he can even charm these criminal gangs.
Well, I will point out he was with his wife at the time. They had gone out for a morning run.
God, how quickly can she run? Was she still with him?
I don't know. I don't know if she was following along behind.
Do you know what?
In the chasing pack, or if maybe she was sort of on his shoulder using him as a pacemaker.
I mean, like I say, I just think like the speed that he goes, like if he can actually outrun a van, and like you say, it could be where it's like bumper to bumper and you can't get anywhere anyway. But if he can actually outrun a van, I'd be like, can you just? Can we like hire you instead of an Uber? Can we just like hire my friend? Yeah.
I could have got here quicker.
Oh my God,
taxi, couldn't I?
Yeah, can we not just hire?
Just sat on top, and he's got his hands up in the Mobot position. You're just sort of sat, one of you on each arm, sort of as he's got this sort of
holding on,
both holding on sort of onto the arms and sort of flying along behind like a cloak.
It's very Neverland, isn't it?
Yeah, it could be quite effective as a.
Do you know, I was saying to Richard that years ago it was just only got made into a local paper, but in Kent someone got their phone or wallet or something nicked off them, and they've just chased after the guy that did it. The guy who got the things stolen from him was a runner, not to Mo, because I don't think anyone's to Mo Farah's level, but still quite
4-time gold medalist in the Olympics. Okay, not quite a high standard.
Yeah, not quite that, but ran after him, and in the end the person who tried to nick it just collapsed.
The thing is, humans are built for running, and the way that we used to hunt when we were sort of hunting in Africa, we would hunt by running and chasing the prey. And basically all the animals that we wanted to hunt could run faster than us.
Well, the thing is that cheetahs and jaguars and lions can run fast. Could run faster than us.
Yes, well.
So we'd say we're built for running, but we sort of are compared to some, but not others.
The point is, most animals can run faster than humans. We're actually pretty slow as a runner, but we are relentless. And the whole point is, the hunters in Africa will chase and carry on chasing for hours, maybe even a whole day, and eventually the prey just gives up and just cannot keep running anymore because they are not built for continuously running. And so they lead them, they sort of chase them in a bit of a curve, and they separate some animals out from the herd and chase them and chase them and chase them, and they just do not stop running. And that's how humans are built to hunt.
Well, I've got to say it now, and sadly the song has it. Well, the song's come under. It's like had some controversy around it, but I've just got to go with this pun. They won't be slow in Africa this Christmas.
Fair enough.
And also, to go along with the Mo Farah one, because all I speed for Christmas is you.
Oh, very good.
All right.
See what you did there.
So
you seem more appreciative than Richard does, right?
Yeah, kind of.
Because all I speed is you.
What I want to say though is that this, obviously he lives in a gated community.
It's not where I live.
And he went running in his gated community, and he left his phone on the side of the road in this gated community while he went running with his wife. So first of all,
very trusting person, maybe.
Like he's clearly very trusting of everyone in that gated community, and clearly shouldn't have been.
No.
Also, why has he got his phone? He's not leaving his home, really. He's still in his gated community. He's not gone far from home.
Why didn't he leave it at home?
Why didn't he just leave his phone at home? If he needs his phone with him, then why didn't he carry it with him? He took it out with him, then left it behind in the weirdest place. This is the news that Sir Mo Farah has chased down the person who stole his phone. It turns out they stole from the wrong person. Even though they had a getaway van, they still couldn't outrun the 4-time Olympic gold medalist in long-distance running. Moving on to another story. Yeah, I think it's time. Sallyann, who's given up on number 10 and is now going for number 1.
Well, this is Liberal Democrat Ed Davey, who has.
Give him his title again, Sir Ed Davey. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, yeah.
I missed off his Sir, but
Got to about being finicky, Richard.
no, that's I stand corrected in my orthopedic shoe. That's him, isn't it? And he's recorded a track with some young carers, and he's hoping to get it to number 1. For charity.
For Christmas,
right,
it's going to be he's going
Christmas,
for a Christmas song, which is going to be number 1.
It sort of reminds me of a film about like a Christmas film where there's also someone's trying to get to number 1. I can't think what it's called. Can you? I actually really can't think what that film's called. Love. I can't actually think what that film's called. Love. Actually.
Right. Okay. Right.
It
was like I was waiting for one of you. Like, really, how many? Okay.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, is that Love Actually? But then
yes.
It's like Christmas Love.
I was just trying to get a word in edgeways to say Love Actually, but you just kept talking, so I didn't have a chance. But yes, this is the song. He's performed it with the Bath Philharmonia's Young Carers Choir, and the song is called Love Is Enough, which is not quite Love Is Actually All Around Us. Mm-hmm. Love is all around you. Christmas is all around me. That one.
Yeah. That one.
But then, it's been written by one of the young carers involved. Ed Davey was in fact a carer himself, a young carer when he was a teenager. He cared for his mother who had cancer. And that's what a lot of these young children, they're teenagers, children who have to care for people who are ill in their life. They have to look after either siblings or parents. And it's a lot of pressure on them, and so it's quite nice for them to be getting out and doing something, like a choir, and it'd be great if they could get to number 1. Of course, there are multiple other tracks that are trying to get to number 1. I haven't actually heard Love Is Enough yet.
It would be a delicious irony if it got to number 10.
That would be brilliant.
If
it got to number 10, that'd be perfect.
Yeah, wouldn't it? Yeah.
He is, and in fact, the second. He's only the second party leader in politics to release a Christmas song. Can either of you name the first?
A politician to release a Christmas song.
It's a bit of a dodgy question,
the only
this
one I can sort of think of was when it was the comedian that me and you both saw when he did a joke version of "Is this the way to number 10?"
Oh, no,
Is that not,
no,
that's, I can't
it's
think
not
of
that.
a politician.
No, he's not a politician.
No, well, he's not, but that was the closest to.
No, this is it is a comedian. This is Lord Buckethead.
Oh, another Lord Buckethead.
Lord Buckethead of various fame, stood in various elections around the country, and he released a song called "A Bucket Full of Happiness," which is a Christmas song back in 2017.
And could people hear him if he was in a bucket?
I think you can sort of hear him a bit. Like, he certainly sounds a bit sort of distorted, but I think that's almost deliberate. It came with a whole video, which I encourage anyone to go and find. It is quite fun in itself.
If there was water in the bucket, he could have done Singing in the Rain.
Could have done, yeah.
Good, yeah.
But yeah, so this is Ed Davey, who's trying to get to number one with a choir of young carers.
Well, he does need a career change.
There we go. That's
Yeah.
a very thin pun. Wonderful. So Ed Davey moving to a career. He's done quite a lot of sort of stunts, I think is probably the word to describe it.
But wasn't he?
Seems to be his thing these days. Bungee jumping.
It did keep him in the news. I mean, I don't think it did look for.
It was a weird strategy.
Yeah,
people didn't think it was going to work, but actually they got, they've become third largest party. They gained more seats than they've ever had before, or something like that. They had a hugely successful election off the back of all his stunts. One of which is now going to include trying to releasing a Christmas single, hoping it'll get to number one. It is for charity, and all the proceeds will not be going to Sir Ed himself. They will, in fact, be going to Bath Philharmonia and the Young Carers, the charity that supports young carers.
So it's good, and that's
worthy.
good. So it's worth having a listen to that, just to try and get it up there in the charts and try and
exactly
support a good cause.
Let's move. We've got probably time for another story, so let's go back to Susan. Susan, which ghost truck is not ULEZ compliant?
Well, yes. So I do love this one for mixed reasons. It's a woman who's been getting thousands of pounds of fines for a truck that she has no knowledge of, that she doesn't own, and she thought, this is just a hoax. And the DVLA have come out and said, no, if you get these letters, just do let us know straight away. And it's weird enough. It's for one reason, her last name isn't she Penny? She's
I think she's Penny.
No, she's Penny Parker. That's
Hillary Parker.
Hillary Parker. I was trying to think. My mind went to money for fines, not Parker. Yeah, so Parker Poles, I don't know. But two things. One, I used to work in a petrol station, and it's sometimes what happened is criminals would tamper with number plates of the vehicle they were doing something dodgy in.
Yeah.
And then it would look like someone else had done so. So someone completely innocent would drove, no, that's not me because this is, and they've made it look like it was you.
This person commented, the number of traffic contraventions is quite remarkable. It's quite a sort of heavy statement. There were ULEZ fines. There were fines for not paying the toll on the Dartmouth Tunnel?
Dartford Crossing.
Dartford Crossing.
What's it crossing? That's the old joke.
And the bus lanes. It's been using bus lanes and got fines for that. It's got parking fines. This truck has got fines for ignoring road signs. It's really been sort of basically breaking every rule in the book.
It's just
cheating at every single traffic light in order to build up as many fines as possible, because all the fines are going to go to someone else.
And it's just what's annoying is because it's like a phantom, it's very difficult to track down.
Yeah, there we go.
That was the only clean pun I could come up with.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll keep them clean. Thank you very much. It does remind me a little bit of a Top Gear episode many years ago where they were driving through Japan and they commented that the Japanese had traffic systems which could recognise faces. They had facial recognition. So every time they went past a camera, they would hold up pictures of someone's face. In order to try and just a mask, like a sort of fake mask of someone's face.
That's brilliant.
Which I quite enjoyed. But yes, that is that news. We are now coming to the end of the show. I've got a couple of questions for you though. So first of all, Susan, do you have any gigs coming up?
No, really need to book some in. But
thank you.
That's my answer every week, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all right. Yeah. Sallyann, do you have any gigs coming up?
I've got one tomorrow in Canterbury. Which is,
Canterbury.
That's what you're doing in Canterbury, though. She told us before the show she's off to Canterbury tomorrow.
So Canterbury, if you're in Canterbury, what's the pub called? And the show?
Have a look at my Instagram at Sallyann Comedy, because I can't remember.
Must make sure we're following her.
Sallyann Comedy, and
it's a neurodivergent gig.
So
that's my excuse.
Do you know the name of the event?
It's
all on her Instagram, is what I think she's
on my Instagram. It's Mix Matched CICC. It's an Arts Council funded charity.
And I believe you had something else you wanted to plug while you're here?
Well, if you fancy listening to my podcast, Weird Biscuit, my friend Lisa and I have a comedy podcast that we do every week. So it's a new episode out today, Colonel Mustard and the Human Kebab.
It does sound wonderful, doesn't it?
It's very random.
Sounds like great fun.
I'm nice to get into podcasts because I do this show and I love radio and I listen to radio. I'm way behind the times getting into podcasts, listening to them or anything. Yeah, I'm just behind the times.
So
send me a link and I'll...
That's Weird Biscuit. Weird Biscuit, if you want to go and look up Sallyan's podcast.
It's also a perfect description of me. I'm a Kit Kat, and I'm a bit weird. Weird
Cool,
biscuit.
yeah, of course, that's it.
Yeah, we are. It's certainly weird. And also not making any other Kit Kat jokes because they've all been made before and probably are still too rude for this show. We are coming to the end of the show, so it's goodbye from me until next week. Goodbye from Susan until I think next week. You're on next week as well.
Yeah, I'm on next week.
For our last show. It's our last show of the year next week. And obviously we'll have Sallyann back at some point in the new year.
Thank you, I'd love to.
But for now, we're going to leave you. We're going to leave you with a song. This is obviously A Bucket Full of Happiness, the song from 2017 by Lord Buckethead, the first politician to release a song. I hope you enjoy it. It's quite fun. Listen to the words. It's great.